Welcome to the Invero Show. Join the Invero team and our esteemed clients and partners as we demystify the complexities of Microsoft Cloud systems. We hope to help you accelerate your cloud journey and maximize the value of your investment with Microsoft. And now, on with the show.
To all that are here, thank you so much for being here. Happy holidays, and thanks so much for joining our 10th edition of the Invero Show, and this one being a festive edition and entitled Our 12 Favorite Things. Let's jump in. I'll be your host. I'm Sean Ambrose, part of the Invero leadership team here, and I'll unpack the why this is worth learning about, how does it fit into Invero's go-to-market. I've done that in every one of the episodes here, and then we'll get into the main event of our 12 favorite things, where many of my esteemed colleagues here will unpack those 12 things. We'll do some Q&A. So through the unpacking of the 12 favorite things, if you got questions, by all means, hit the chat. Let's get those questions going. And then at the end of the 12, we'll address the questions to the best we can. If the questions exceed the time capacity, then we'll call you and we'll have a conversation with you to help in any way that we can. And then last but not least, we'll get into some prizes here. Before we go any further, I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate the Invero Show and thank you all for your support throughout the year. This is our 10th episode, but it's also our first year. We kicked this off in December. I think it was about December the 4th or 5th, Steph, where we did. You did the first one for us on Azure cost optimization. So through the course of the last 12 months, here's the topics we've unpacked. I was reflecting on this morning and thought, well, let's just share this here. There's a QR code for anybody, or you could just Google search the Invero Show landing page and you'd find that, and you could have a look. So if any of these topics are of interest to you, we certainly enjoyed bringing the discussion forward, and they're all cleaned up and sitting on YouTube there. You could watch them at your leisure, or we'd love to have a conversation with you about any of these. Anyways, that's the rearview mirror. Let's think more about the windshield of why are you here. So in terms of why is this worth learning about, really, I'm just going to try and frame how we're going to unpack these 12 things. It's going to be, kind of 2 to 3 minutes per, where different Invero teammates will unpack them. And what they'll focus on is, what is it? Why is it that we love that so much, and how we think it's relevant or helpful to you? And then we thought we would take it one step further and just thinking about the types of decisions that all of you would make in your business, and thinking about any decision that you do, any piece of technology that you invest in, kind of why would you do that? And does it help the business make money? Does it help the business save money? Does it help the business save time? Or does it help the business just make things easier? And really what we mean here is integrating processes or simplifying processes, making things go a little faster. It kind of goes hand in hand with saving time, but it's actually more of, going a little deeper into integrating the process, which then by extension would save you time. So hopefully that's a format that you'll find helpful and relatively straightforward. Just real quick on how does this fit into Invero's go-to-market? Some of you have seen this slide many times, others that might be new. Really, it's about Invero's, our purpose, our mission is to help clients maximize the value of their investment in Microsoft. And so really, everything we're talking about ties back to that. It's all about, call them tips and tricks, or just interesting nuggets of information that we think are helpful. And ultimately, it all maps back to just helping you get more value out of that Microsoft platform. So with that, let me introduce our speakers here. So maybe you can just wave as I introduce you. So Steph's here. Steph leads our Microsoft licensing practice, and she's going to unpack a few of her favorite things. Arjit's here, one of our Azure infrastructure engineers. Ratan is here, cloud solution architect, going to unpack a few. Anthony's here, our data engineer. He's going to unpack a few. And then last but certainly not least is Craig, our CTO and founder, is also going to be unpacking some of the 12 favorite things. So with that, I'm going to introduce Steph to help us unpack our first one here. I'll drive the slides as we go, Steph. And let's start off. You can introduce it, and I'll do the clicking as we go.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. So one question I get regularly is how to keep up to date on some of the new things Microsoft is coming up with. They just had their big annual conference, Ignite, a few weeks ago, November 19th to the 21st. And so if you are not into these deep dive Microsoft licensing podcasts like I like to listen to, I think that the Ignite Book of News is a really great place to just check out some of the announcements from Ignite. It's a pretty comprehensive guide full of links to announcements and blog posts, things like that. It's clearly laid out. It's just a really good reference guide to stay up to date on some of these new Microsoft announcements. It's going to save some time and some digging to that document instead.
And Steph, what does it help with?
Saving time.
Saving time. Awesome. Okay, thanks, Steph. I'm going to introduce Arjit here to unpack favorite thing number 2. Arjit, over to you. Talk about Azure Chaos Studio.
Thanks, Sean. So basically, Azure Chaos Studio is a managed chaos engineering service provided by Azure, which helps you to simulate real-world disruptions in your cloud systems. So basically, you can craft some problems like CPU pressure or network latency, those kind of things you can introduce in a controlled manner in your environment. And as our founder says, fail fast, learn faster. So it can help you to proactively test your system's resiliency. And that's why we love it, because it enables businesses to validate the stability of the application. It identifies the weak point, the pain points in the application infrastructure, and it helps to improve the resiliency. Ultimately, it reduces the downtime, expenses related to the downtime, and it also enhances the operational confidence of the organization on their application.
Yeah, thanks, Arjun. So that's going to help in 3 ways here, right?
Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, maybe just explain that a bit.
Yeah, so it will definitely helps in saving some money, because you're not spending as much expense or loss of revenue during the downtime. It also saves you the time, the manpower involved in recovering from the disasters, because you have addressed it ahead of time. And it also validates the integration of your processes and systems by testing it, proactively testing your infrastructure.
Yeah, thanks so much, Arjit. Okay, Ratan, over to you. Let's unpack 12 favorite things number 3.
Absolutely. So Microsoft Syntax is really just a content understanding, processing, and automation tool powered by AI. It really helps you classify documents, for example, invoices or receipts, whatnot, extracting information out of them. You can extract information like amounts, names, details of the person who's requesting the invoice, etc. And also integrating with workflows. So once you have all the information sort of out of those invoices and receipts, you can actually put them directly into some sort of ERP system like SAP or Dynamics 365 for further processing into it. And this really helps you save a lot of time, because imagine a large organization or even an SMB sort of client, who have maybe 500 receipts or whatnot every month that they're getting, to manually retrieve information out of those handwritten invoices or even computer printed invoices could take a lot of time. So this is where Microsoft Syntax really shines, because it can extract that information for you automatically and feed that into your ERP that you're using.
Awesome. Thanks, Ratan. And yeah, kind of following that similar thinking, maybe just explain a little bit of how does that, like I think you kind of already have, but just it integrates processes, which also then saves time.
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously automating workflows like that would save quite a bit of time, and also most of them are pretty accurate. A lot of the recent models that Microsoft's been publishing have been actually pretty accurate, even at reading OCR images as well. Those are the handwritten ones where the data has been actually the models that they're using underneath those services have been very, very large. So they basically can understand it, pretty much everything.
Awesome. Thanks, Ratan. All right, Anthony, let's bring you into the conversation here. Number 4, why don't you unpack this one for us?
Great. Managed data workflow orchestration with ADF. Of course, this is orchestration is always a problem when we want to move data from one stage to the next until it's ready for consumption throughout the entire life cycle. I always think of it as a conveyor belt. They get the raw material, move from point A to point B when you actually have a data product. The greatest thing is that Microsoft does have a tool, Azure Data Factory, that can manage these type of workloads and all the bits and pieces of the technology that you need to in between in order to create a data product. So what I want to highlight a few things here. Core code reusability is one of the main highlights that I would like to share with you guys about ADF, because it does provide a smaller footprint in terms of the fact that things are reusable, and you can create dynamic parameters, dynamic link service data set, and it can be used across multiple pipelines as well. You can think of this as like having even a pipeline running in its own namespace, which is something that saves a lot of time. The next thing is the metadata-driven approach that ADF does offers. You know, as I said, data ingestion is really a challenge that companies encounter with on a daily basis. But with metadata-driven configuration, you can supply that pipeline with whatever it needs, and when it runs, it actually takes up, it actually populates all the dependencies, and is a way of just reuse pipelines as well. So the term generic there doesn't mean that it does have a pipeline that is really just generic, as it's the word there mean. It means that you can have a very robust type development. The one thing I like about ADF is that it also allows seamless authentication between the various products that you might use in your data setup, such as you're connecting to a SQL database. You need to use key vaults. You're gonna leverage your notebooks as well during the orchestration. It allows that seamless authentication. In terms of what I really love about the product is the fact of the native communication between all the different resources. The fact that it's loose a couple, yes, but the dependencies, each pieces of the solution can operate independently, and that's what I kind of like about it. And it actually helps with how productive you are, when you engage with your data products.
Let's just talk about how does that help in the end?
Well, the fact that it's you have this vast amount of reusability, the metadata-driven approach makes things really easy, time-consuming as well. You can achieve things very quickly once you have it set up properly. Save time, and make things really easy in terms of the fact that you change if you want to make any change, it's really simple to change because you have things in one place where you can just make the change quickly, which is propagated through the entire system.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anthony. All right, Steph, let's bring you back into this to talk about favorite thing number 5.
Yeah, so there are dozens of pre-built little apps available through Teams these days. And so they're really ideal for bringing together the tools and services that users need and rely on. Especially, a lot of them are geared towards bumping up and increasing some of that functionality for teams. Things like Mesh, which is supposed to be some immersive meeting spaces. These are a lot of them are geared towards improving the collaboration between hybrid and remote teams. So things like bookings and virtual appointments can help your users manage calendars. Shifts is for helping frontline workers manage some of their times and shift workers, really. Things like approvals go with it integrates with a workflow through Power Automate to streamline approvals. So if you're not in the office talking to each other all the time, this can really just streamline a lot of that collaboration that's needed between your users. Things like Queues is a new little application that is designed to help with call queues and auto attendance. So if you are using Teams telephony and you have on-call users that need to be scheduled, it will really help with that kind of functionality. So these are really great little apps that get built right into Teams for ease of use. The reason that we love it, again, hybrid remote teams, we're a completely remote and hybrid team ourselves. And so things like this really help improve our collaboration. Some of them are kind of fun. There is there is the praise app, which you can go in and just give some compliments and praise to your teammates. And then also the avatars app, which it's a fun little app to help create avatars so that you can have a different presence. And maybe I'll pop my avatar into the chat for everybody because it's actually pretty insulting, in my opinion. It's I think that one could just be a little bit better, but these don't require additional licensing for the most part. A couple of them do require Teams Premium. They're easy to set up. They're web-based. They don't require any local installs. And so they can really help save time for your users and really improve communications internally. So saving time and really making things easier for your users is where this is going to add some value.
Yeah, totally. Okay, thanks, Steph. All right, we're rolling here. We're moving from our 5 golden rings to our 6. What's the 6? What is it? I know what it is. It's the FinOps Foundation. That must be what it is for the 12 days. Over to you, Craig.
Thank you, Sean, and thanks everybody else. So 2024 has really been the year of FinOps for Invero. We've been doubling down on this. It's not really a new thing, but it's kind of taking on a life of its own in terms of the FinOps practice and helping customers around this. And in developing our own and honing our skills in this area, we've kind of aligned ourselves with an organization called FinOps Foundation. You can see the URL there, finops.org. This is a great free resource, publicly available. It's funded by all the big hyperscalers. It is supported by large enterprises. There's participants who are really building the subject matter expertise and knowledge base around FinOps, which is more than just cost management, cost optimization. There's a lot more to FinOps. If you're interested, I encourage you to go to that website or reach out to us and our team can help you. We've actually also built a tool, you can see a screenshot of it there, that will help assess maturity of your organization, and we call it FinOps Ready, and that's getting your organization FinOps Ready following the FinOps Foundation's maturity model, which they've established. Cost containment in cloud spend is not going away. This is not a new problem either. It's been an ongoing focus for many companies around the world ever since the cloud became a thing. So that's why it's important. And why we love it is because not only do they offer this free resources and free information, they also offer FinOps practitioner certification and training. We've actually got already a couple of people, 3 people, I think, on our team who have certifications, and that number is growing. We're taking this very seriously and putting our own money really behind it and people. So it's an important area, and we want to be able to help customers in this space. You can actually get access to all this information without requiring membership fees. As an organization ourselves, we can participate at different levels, and we're looking at that. There are paid levels as well, which enable you to attend things like they've got their annual conferences. There's knowledge sharing at those events, and ultimately we want to be contributors as well as practitioners in this space. So we want to be contributors, and the areas that this helps in. For yourselves is 3 of the 4. So it'll help you save money, it'll help you save time, and really it does make it easier because FinOps can be daunting for anybody looking to adopt it. It's like, where do you start? Well, start with understanding where you are today and where you want to go, where you think that you want to go on the maturity level, and measuring that maturity from crawl, walk to run. Not everybody's going to want to go all the way to the full run level. So understanding where you are today, closing that gap to where you want to get to.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. All right, Rutan, let's welcome you back here. More AI. I see a pattern. Rutan likes to talk AI.
AI perspective for AI at the edge. So what that really is, just a hardware and software platform for deploying AI models at the edge. So instead of deploying it somewhere on the cloud, you'd actually deploy the models on the device itself. It could be a camera, it could be a sensor, and that would really enable you to just make some real-time decision making without needing for continuous cloud connectivity. This does help in reducing latency and also improving performance for tasks like factory automation, or smart city solutions, or even in the retail space, like a retail chain may want to use AI-powered cameras to monitor the foot traffic in stores and analyze customer behavior, their sentiments. There's multiple use cases for this in pretty much every industry. Um, and it makes things really efficient and very easy to ingest because you're deploying the AI model right at the edge. And it would save basically quite a bit of time in terms of analyzing a lot of information. Would save money as well because instead of deploying the sources, you'd be able to actually um, make those decisions automatically using AI. And also saves quite a bit of money there too.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ratan. This one can light them all up. The make money part is really about the applicability on the use case. But yeah, thanks. This is super exciting evolution in AI technology. All right, let's go back to Arjit here. Number 8, Arjit.
Thanks, Sean. So really, the Azure Virtual Network Manager, we have seen all daunting efforts where we have to manage multiple networks, their peerings, and IP address space management in Azure. So Azure came up with Azure Virtual Network Manager, which really helps in centralized management of all the networks across all the regions in Azure at a global scale. So it basically just simplifies your network management. What we do here is basically we create a group of network in the step 1, and then we apply some configurations to that groups of network. We use the configuration can be of 3 different types as of today. It could be a connectivity related configuration where you can define either a mesh topology or a hub and spoke kind of topology, or you can use a security admin configuration where you define your NSG kind of rules, and it does take precedence over NSGs. And the third type is user-defined routes. You can also control your all routing from one center plane. There are a couple of interesting features that are coming up. They are in preview as of today. One of them I would like to talk about is IPAM, managing IP space in Azure and recording which IP address is being utilized by what network interface and where it is being used has been challenging because you have to switch through multiple blades to figure that information out. But with this, it's one single pane of glass where you can see all your virtual networks, their address CIDR space. You can see all the subnets, their IP ranges, and all the network interfaces. So this makes life easy. And one good thing that is also coming out of this is that you can manage not only the virtual networks in your own tenant, you can manage a couple virtual networks that reside in a different tenant using cross-tenant network connections. So basically, the reason why we love it, it brings simplicity and efficiency in network management by centralizing all the connectivity and policy implementation across all the VNets. It saves time, it reduces the complexity, and it also brings consistency in your delivery. It ensures global connectivity. It enforces consistent security policy and automates the configurations. It scales effortlessly to meet the need of the modern workloads. So basically, it will save time and it will make your processes much easier for managing your virtual networks.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, thanks so much, Arjit. All right, Steph, back over to you here to talk about number 9.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. So Azure hybrid use benefit is the way that customers can bring their own Windows Server and SQL Server licensing with them into Azure to offset some of those costs. And so on the Windows Server side of things, it's a pretty simple and straightforward program. Each virtual machine needs a minimum of 8 cores. You apply it, it's pretty simple. On the SQL side, though, it gets a bit more complicated. You can apply existing licenses to SQL VMs, SQL databases in Azure, and managed instances as well. And in addition to that, there is a few different tiers of there's business critical and there's standard, and they relate a little bit differently to the SQL cores themselves, whether it's standard or enterprise. There's conversions, there's things like that. So it gets pretty complicated on the SQL side of things. And what Microsoft has introduced is a way to centrally manage those SQL Server license entitlements. You enter your information into the Azure page where you manage this. You enter in how many cores you have available. And there's also a review period that you enter in as well to that should relate to when those licenses themselves expire, just to be able to make sure that as your licenses get renewed, you are applying the right amount of entitlements to your servers in Azure. But the nice thing here is that this will then centrally manage those entitlements and apply them correctly to all of the SQL instances that you have in Azure. And as you decommission things, it will then free up those cores and reapply them to another SQL instance. And this is just a nice, simple way to manage that program and manage those license entitlements. It's going to help with compliancy with that review date for that notification for you to go in and say, oh, okay, well, how many should I renew? What's being used here? It just really simplifies this program. It's going to help save time, and it will help save money, as this will automatically apply those rates for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. All right, we're going to keep things rolling here. Arjit, back to you for number 10.
All right, thanks, Sean, again. So basically, this is a feature of Azure Virtual Desktop, Start VM on Connect and scaling plans. They're available today. We should leverage it. This basically means that, let's say, for example, over the weekend, the utilization of your virtual desktop session host is, there is no utilization. You can shut down all your session hosts, save on money. And if for some reason somebody needs to connect to your virtual machines or a virtual desktop, the Start VM on Connect will power on for that user. And this definitely means it may take a little longer for the first power on to happen, but once it is on, more users can log in and it will help save cost. The other thing we can utilize in Azure is scaling plans, which is basically a plan devised where you define your peak usage time and the rules how, if there is an 80% usage, for example, of CPU at a given point, power on more virtual machines in the environment so that not all machines are powered on at all times. You define how the scaling up and scaling down should happen. And that also aids in making sure the resources are available at the time you need and doubling down on saving on the cost. So if you implement these things together, and that's what we love, it helps you to provide a dynamic and cost-effective solution right out of the box for managing virtual machines, balancing your performance, and gives you cost effectiveness. So it helps you, so basically it saves you money, and it also, the scaling plan helps you to make a very consistent process for this whole thing to happen.
Yeah, I love it, Arjit. Thanks. And I love how you can turn it off, say on the weekend, if you've got a workforce that doesn't really work on the weekend. But then if somebody does,
right,
they're still able to get back in and get going, right? So
yeah.
It's not like everything's just blocked. You can still get that moving. That's a great one to save money and just make processes simpler. All right, we got 2 left.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you, Arjit. Ratan, more AI. Let's talk more AI.
Yeah, using RAG and AI to get better results. This is really about just kind of prompt engineering into your models itself. It's a technique that combines both retrieval-based methods and generation-based methods to enhance the capabilities of AI models. So there's multiple ways to do it, but what that really does is just basically ensures the accuracy of the results that are coming back from a model. And yeah, it's pretty much it. It just really helps you get your accurate information back in.
So how does that make that better for a user that's doing prompting?
I'd say like in a lot of different ways. If a user's doing prompting, there's gonna be a system message that's gonna be assigned to this as well. It's gonna make operations much easier, especially if you are feeding this into some sort of data pipeline as well, and you only want information which is very specific to your business requirement. Because typically, when you just feed a regular prompt to an AI engine or an LLM, you're just going to get a lot of information which may not be relevant to what you're looking for. So this is where that really helps. Every time a user sends a prompt, it also goes along with a system prompt as well, which tells the model exactly what to do.
Yeah, so it dives deeper into said area, cross-referencing against all the information available. And then just keeps getting smarter. Yeah, awesome. Love it. Thanks, Ratan. And this is going to help you save time and just integrate processes and make things run better and faster.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, back to Anthony, data engineer Dixon here. Number 12, Anthony, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Sean. All right. So today, in terms of having that unified copy that you can that's access anywhere, we're talking about Microsoft Fabric. So we all know that Microsoft Fabric is a unified data platform. But what I wanted to kind of zoom in on is the way it helps organizations leverage a single copy. And that is going to mitigate things like data silos and how we collaborate going forward. You can think of Fabric as that new vehicle on the block that Microsoft is actually pushing, which have a lot of exciting features. So today we're going to be looking at One Lake and how it helps to integrate all those different systems, different places, and how it actually leverages like the cohesive ecosystem that Microsoft has, that rich ecosystem. And by extension as well, I would like to kind of stress on this cool feature that it has, as it relates to shortcuts, right? Which allows you to create like something like a pointer into different data sets, so that you can access it pretty much anywhere they reside. You can access these data sets. Again, I mentioned about the ecosystem, and the beautiful thing about this is that not only the SharePoints and the OneDrive or the storage accounts, the various databases that Microsoft offers that you can connect to, but you also can connect to the multi-cloud as well, which is pretty cool. You have your data resides in different clouds, AWS. You can just access that data and create actually consume it with products like Power BI, which is I think is a game changer in this environment. Again, by centralizing your data management practice, Fabrics can even enhance your governance, your compliance, propagate things from an hierarchy down, so that your data practice can be run in a very efficient way. What do I like about it? Of course, OneDrive. It provides users with this, one place, mitigating multiple copies, right? Of this version of truth, which is something that every BI project strive for, to have this version of truth, and minimizing dependencies, improving data quality, which is a top ticket. I think this one checks all the boxes.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah. It's the grand slam here.
Right? Make money, save a lot of time, make things easy, right? Biggest challenge our organization have is silo. One of the biggest challenge that can mitigate it. And of course, right, time consuming. Some of the things that I mentioned even before with ADF, you can just leverage into Fabric. just think of Fabric as a vehicle that will take the solution that you can create with ADF and all the different products to create all those data products that we all love. That's it. 12 things.
12 things. Awesome. Anthony and team, thank you so much for unpacking our 12 favorite things. We got a few minutes here for Q&A, and then we're excited to give out some prizes. I'll just recap. I don't actually have a slide to recap them, but I know a couple folks joined along the way. So just real quick to go back of our, you think of the song. Actually, we were listening to Bob and Doug's 12 Days of Christmas right before everybody joined here. If I was to go back to these, the first one was the Ignite Book of News that Steph talked about. Then Arja talked about Azure Chaos Studio. Ratan talked about Syntax around AI-powered document processing. Anthony then talked about managing data workflow orchestration. Steph then talked about pre-built apps and teams. Craig talked about our love for the FinOps Foundation. Ratan talked about Azure Percept for AI at the edge. Arjit talked about Azure Virtual Network Manager and its associated benefits. We went back to Steph to talk about hybrid use benefits and how to navigate all of that. Arjit then talked about Start VM on Connect and scaling plan for AVD. We went back to Ratan to talk about using RAG as within AI for better results back. And then Anthony brought it home here with Fabric and harnessing that single copy of your data anywhere and everywhere. Thanks everybody for joining. We're going to get to prizes.